If you're interested in formulating decadent hair masks, creamy cleansing conditioners, and indulgent body butters that leave your skin feeling divine, then you need to know about BTMS 50. Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today we are getting to know BTMS 50. In today's video, we'll be covering what BTMS 50 is, why we use it in our formulations, how to work with it, what you can use instead, and how it's different from BTMS 25, and then we'll wrap up with 5 free formulations that you can make with BTMS 50. As always, there are timestamps in the description box below if you'd like to skip to a specific part of this video. Please think of these ingredient deep dives as the partner video for the Humblebee and Me DIY Encyclopedia entry on the same ingredient. So if you are looking for a quick written reference or links to learn more about the substitutions I mentioned, please check that out. It's linked in the description box below and it is completely free. What is BTMS 50? It is a cationic or positively charged emulsifier and conditioning ingredient. It is comprised of 50% behentrimonium methosulfate, that's what the BTMS stands for, 40 to 45% cetyl alcohol, and 5 to 10% butylene glycol. Behentrimonium methosulfate is a quaternary ammonium conditioning agent. Its key contributions to our formulations is its fabulous conditioning goodness, but does also emulsify. BTMS leaves the skin and hair feeling amazing, soft and silky and more substantial. It really shines in hair care where it helps reduce tangles, improve comb through, and generally leaves our hair feeling absolutely delightful. In addition to BTMS 50, there are other ingredients out there that contain behentrimonium methosulfate blended with other ingredients. The most common is BTMS 25, and we'll touch on that more in the substitution section, but I did also do an entire deep dive video on BTMS 25, so that's also worth a watch. Thanks to the blend of cetyl alcohol and behentrimonium methosulfate, BTMS 50 thickens and emulsifies formulations while also adding beautiful conditioning goodness and emollients. It is usually sold as small white pellets and looks a lot like other small white pellety ingredients, so make sure you are paying attention to the labels on your bags and tubs of ingredients as you're formulating. Like many other cationic ingredients, BTMS 50 can have a sort of fishy scent that can vary in strength from batch to batch and supplier to supplier. Usage rates are usually low enough that you won't notice it in your finished products, but depending on how sensitive your sense of smell is and how smelly your BTMS 50 is, you might. There are only 3 products with this inky in UL Prospector. From what I can tell from reading descriptions on various supplier websites, what we are usually buying as home crafters is Incroquat Behenyl TMS 50 made by Croda. Why do we use BTMS 50 in our formulations? BTMS 50 is primarily used in formulations for its conditioning properties, but its ability to emulsify, thicken, and boost emollients in formulations is also important. It's just that we can get those properties from other ingredients like non-ionic emulsifying waxes, so it's that conditioning element that really sets BTMS 50 apart from ingredients like emulsifying wax NF or Olive M1000. Our skin and hair are negatively charged, and since opposites attract, ingredients that are positively charged or cationic, like BTMS 50, are rather special. Cationic ingredients create a very, very thin film on the skin and hair that leaves it feeling amazing, more substantial, smoother, powdery, silky, luxurious. Because of the charge attraction, cationic products cling to and stay on our skin and hair far longer than anionic or non-ionic products, resisting wash off and wear. This isn't some sort of impervious permanent film by any stretch of the imagination. It absolutely does come off your skin. It just comes off more slowly than other charges of formulations. I find it really hard to describe the lovely, amazing feel that cationic ingredients bring to our formulations, but if you think about your hair before and after you apply conditioner in the shower, that slippy, rich, smooth feeling, or the after, is thanks to the cationic ingredients in your hair conditioner. BTMS 50 can be used in emulsified and anhydrous hair care and skincare formulations. It really shines in hair care formulations, leave-in conditioner, rinse-off conditioners, cleansing conditioners, hair balms, hair masks, and more. It leaves the hair feeling richly conditioned, smoother, more substantial, easier to comb, fewer tangles. It's lovely. BTMS 50 is also beautiful in skincare formulations where it has a luxurious, powdery, silky smooth, rich condition feel that's hard to describe, but I'm pretty sure you'll love. I adore it as the emulsifier in creams and lotions, and it's also great in anhydrous formulations like conditioning body butters. Because it is an emulsifier, BTMS 50 will add self-emulsifying and rinse-off properties to formulations. However, it's about 4 times the price of emulsifying wax NF, so I don't usually use BTMS 50 to add rinse-off to a formulation unless I also want that conditioning goodness. If you'd like to learn more about non-ionic emulsifying wax NF, I did a deep dive video on that too, so make sure you check it out. It's linked in the description box below. How do you work with BTMS 50? Well, first things first, it's solid, so it has to go in a heated phase to be melted to do really anything. Safety data sheets for this ingredient state that it melts around 60 degrees Celsius or about 140 degrees Fahrenheit, but like most cationic ingredients, I find it's really quite stubborn about melting. You can make BTMS 50 easier to melt by running it through your DIY only coffee grinder to powder it. Just be sure to be relatively quick about it, as the friction of the grinding will heat it up, and that can lead to laminating BTMS 50 to the inside of your coffee grinder, and that's a pain to clean up. You can also melt BTMS 50 with direct heat rather than in a water bath to speed things along. Options include placing a borosilicate beaker on a lab hot plate or a glass top stove. You can place your oven-safe container in an oven set to about 80 degrees Celsius, or you can use the microwave, though do tread carefully there as it can be easy to burn stuff that way. BTMS 50 is generally recommended at 2 to 10% for emulsions. It works to emulsify when used at about 25% of the oil phase, but unlike an emulsifier like emulsifying wax NF, we don't determine the usage of BTMS 50 purely on what is needed to emulsify a formulation. When formulating hair care products, we often use more BTMS 50 than is strictly required to emulsify because we want that conditioning goodness. BTMS 50 can also be used as the sole ingredient in an oil phase when creating hair care formulations, as we'll get conditioning from the behentrimonium methosulfate and emollients from the cetyl alcohol and butylene glycol. Just how much BTMS 50 you'll want to use will depend a lot on what you're making and the hair you're making it for. You'd probably use less for a leave-in conditioner and more for a hair mask, and you'd probably use less for hair that's very easily weighed down and more if you're formulating for thicker, drier hair. I've prepared 3 different samples using BTMS 50 in water: 4%, 8%, and 10%. And here are 3 more samples using BTMS 50, a liquid oil, and water. Each contains twice as much liquid oil as BTMS 50. So this one is 4% BTMS 50, 8% oil, 8% and 16%, and 10% and 20%. You can see that the higher the oil content is in the formulation, the thicker the formulation gets. And you can also see that the versions with just BTMS 50 have a bit of a gelled, translucent look to them, while the versions with the oil are more opaque and creamy. If you're making a solid conditioner bar, you'll likely use a lot more than just 10% BTMS 50. I found a sample hair conditioner formulation from Dow that used 60% BTMS 25, which would be 30% BTMS 50. Because BTMS 50 is cationic or positively charged, it doesn't always play nicely with anionic ingredients. It is also more sensitive to electrolytes than non-ionic ingredients. So if your emulsion is splitting, check for anionic ingredients and/or a high electrolyte load. What can you use instead of BTMS 50? For starters, you'll need something that is both cationic and emulsifying. If you can find pure behentrimonium methosulfate for sale, you can make your own blend with 50% behentrimonium methosulfate, 40% cetyl alcohol, and 10% butylene glycol. BTMS 25 can also work, though with a few modifications and caveats. BTMS 25 is 25% behentrimonium methosulfate and 75% cetyl alcohol. So in comparing the performance of the 2 ingredients, BTMS 25 thickens formulations more than BTMS 50 does, as it has more thickening ingredients, and it conditions less because it has half the amount of behentrimonium methosulfate. If a formulation calls for 4% BTMS 50, you could try using 8% BTMS 25, reducing some of the fatty thickeners in the formulation as an alternative. This swap would result in the same percentage of behentrimonium methosulfate and a finished product with a pretty similar viscosity. You can also swap them 1 for 1. This will reduce the amount of conditioning in the formulation, but it will limit viscosity changes. A 1-for-1 swap will still be thicker, but not as thick as a 2-for-1 swap. If you have the option to purchase both BTMS 50 and BTMS 25 and only want one, I'd pick BTMS 50 because it's more concentrated, which makes it more flexible than BTMS 25. Behentrimonium chloride can also be a good option to replace BTMS 50 in formulations. Behentrimonium chloride, or BTMC, is a different but also very lovely and potent conditioning emulsifier. more. I've heard from some curly-haired readers that they really prefer BTMC to BTMS. Make sure you're reading your product descriptions, as some BTMC is blended with stabilizers like cetyl alcohol and some isn't. If yours doesn't contain any thickeners like cetyl alcohol, it won't thicken your formulations at all, and it will also be more potent than BTMS 50. The BTMC I have is from Making Cosmetics, and it's about 80% active. So if a formulation called for 4% BTMS 50, I'd start my reformulating experiments with 2.5% BTMC and 1.5% cetyl alcohol. There are some natural alternatives on the market for BTMS 50. The only ones I've tried are Very Soft EQ 65 and Emulsense HC, and I can't say I was impressed at all with either of them, and I really wouldn't recommend spending your money on either of them. Out of the two, Very Soft EQ 65 is less bad, but yeah, I haven't found anything in the natural cationic emulsifier category that I feel performs anywhere close to as well as BTMS or BTMC do. In some situations, you could replace BTMS 50 with a non-ionic emulsifier like emulsifying wax NF, but you'll lose that conditioning element. So think about what you're making and how important that conditioning goodness is. You could try adding the conditioning ingredient to the formulation with a separate cationic ingredient like polyquaternium 7 or cationic guar gum. This will definitely require some retesting and redevelopment work, but it could do the job. And let's wrap up with 5 free formulations that you can make using BTMS 50. Formulation number 1, which is actually 3 formulations, is my super simple cleansing conditioners with BTMS 50. This project teaches you 3 different cleansing conditioner formulations that start with a really simple one and then add more ingredients as you go to add some complexity and variety to the formulation. It's a great place to start if you've never made a cleansing conditioner formulation. And as a side note, if you don't want to make a cleansing conditioner and you just want to make a simple hair conditioner, I did 3 super simple creamy hair conditioners using BTMS 25. So go check that out, read the partner blog post. I've covered how to swap in BTMS 50 instead. Project number 2 is my Argan Rose In Shower Body Conditioner. This creamy formulation is a Lush inspired product. I've marketed it as a body conditioner, but you can absolutely use it as a rich rinse out hair conditioner as well. Project number 3 is my Cranberry Orange Solid Hair Conditioner Bar. BTMS 50 stars in this long lasting packaging free solid conditioner bar. I've paired it with mango butter and cranberry seed oil, but you could easily try using a different soft butter like shea butter and a different liquid oil if you don't have those 2 ingredients. Project number 4 is my Pemberley Conditioning Body Butter. If you haven't made a conditioning body butter yet, you really should. Including some cationic goodness in a body butter formulation gives it a divine, luxurious feel that leaves your skin feeling so touchable you might find yourself rubbing your hands together like a stereotypical movie villain every time you apply it. This particular DIY is part of a larger series of Pemberley themed formulations that feature a stunning scent blend and focus on luxury. And product number 5 is my coconut massage butter. If you love massages, you need to make this coconut massage butter. It combines the luxurious skin feel of BTMS 50 with a long lasting slip of coconut oil to create a truly decadent massaging medium. If you'd like to learn how to make my coconut massage butter, click here. And if you'd like to learn more about BTMS 50's little sister, BTMS 25, click here. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye.